Wack 100 just shook the table with some wild paperwork that could flip Boosie's whole legacy on its head. He's claiming Boosie actually framed Marlo Mike, a teenage shooter once tight with Boosie's crew, for a hit that Boosie might have been behind himself. That means this whole situation could have been a setup, all to protect Boosie's rap grind from getting torched by legal heat. The documents Wack dropped hint that Marlo Mike didn't act on his own. He was either tricked or flat out used as the fall guy for crimes tied to Boosie's people. Now think about it. Was Boosie pulling strings behind the scenes to save his name and stay on top? If this turns out to be true, it could seriously wreck how folks see Boosie's street cred and the truth behind all his legal drama. Here's where everything goes off the rails. A taped confession popped out from a quiet teen named Michael Marlo Mike. But what he said, loud enough to shake the streets. Calm as ever, Marlo told detectives that Lil Boosie gave him $2,800 to kill Terry Boyd. Just like that, Boosie's name slid from rap playlists to murder indictments, and the feds jumped on it like sharks. That one tape handed prosecutors everything they needed: motive, shooter, and a direct link to one of Baton Rouge's most feared rappers. And it didn't stop there. Investigators dug up phone records showing Marlo hanging around Boosie's studio right before the hit. Then they spotted the craziest tattoo on Marlo's stomach that said, "Yo Boosie, who's next?" Like something straight out of a movie. The whole thing painted a wild picture, and it looked like Boosie's rap dreams might crash behind prison walls. But here's the twist. That tape confession, it didn't stay solid for long. Later on, Marlo switched up his whole story. He said the cops cornered him, pressured him hard, and scared him into talking. According to Marlo, they threatened to lock up his family if he didn't throw Boosie under the bus in court. He ended up flipping everything, saying Boosie never paid him, never told him to do anything. Marlo claimed the DA was just out to get Boosie, and he got caught in the crossfire like a pawn. And here's the kicker. Boosie was never at the crime scene. No witnesses saw him there, and there wasn't a shred of physical evidence linking him to the house where Terry Boyd got taken out. That doubt, it was enough to shake the jury. In 2012, Boosie walked free, not guilty, but Wack 100 says that courtroom win didn't tell the whole truth. He swears the real drama was unfolding in the background. We're talking setup, shady power plays, and backdoor deals. Wack says Marlo wasn't just some wild kid with a gun. He was a pawn in a much bigger game meant to protect the right people and bury others. That confession tape, Wack calls it a loud distraction in a deeper, dirtier plan. This case turned everything upside down for Boosie. It dragged him through the justice system, trashed his rep in the public eye, and sparked one huge question. Was that confession even real? Or did Boosie let Marlo Mike take the fall to protect his name and career? Wack 100 isn't letting this slide. He's now saying Boosie really let Marlo crash out for a hit. Boosie called himself. Wack claims sealed court records are starting to pop up, showing Boosie might have played this whole thing like a straight-up chess master. These papers Wack 100 is talking about, they weren't just kept from the public, they never even made it to court. And if what Wack says is true, what's in those sealed files could flip the whole story upside down. So how did Boosie walk free while Marlo Mike got slammed with a life sentence? Wack's claiming Mike didn't confess out of guilt. He was getting crushed from both sides, by the law and the streets. Wack's painting the picture like Marlo didn't even know he was being used, pressured into protecting Boosie without fully realizing it. And this is where it circles back to the streets. There's always been quiet talk about Boosie's real role in that whole mess, but Wack's coming out bold. He's saying this wasn't no rumor. It was all part of the play. According to Wack, Boosie didn't just keep his mouth shut, he moved slick. The lyrics he dropped, his legal dream team, that real one image, all strategic. Every move designed to dodge death row and keep his legacy clean. But Wack says the streets, they weren't buying it. People always felt the truth, and now these sealed court documents might be the proof they've been waiting on. Let's be real. Wack is making it sound like Boosie knowingly let Marlo Mike crash out so he could stay free. That's not just survival, that's a sacrifice. But to understand where it all began, you gotta rewind to the night that set it off, October 20th, 2009. That night, Terry Boyd was laying low at his sister's place in Baton Rouge, fresh out of prison, trying to keep his head down and stay out of trouble. But trouble came looking for him. Just after 1 a.m., chaos broke loose. Somebody lit up the house from the outside. At least 6 shots flew through the window. Terry Boyd didn't even get a second to react. Neighbors said they saw 2 figures darting off into the darkness. No faces, just blurry shadows in the night. This was the hit Marlo Mike confessed to, the one where he claimed Boosie paid him $2,800 to pull the trigger. And here's where the motive creeps in. Word around Baton Rouge was that Boosie was scared of Boyd. Rumors were flying that Boyd was planning to jack him and humiliate him while doing it. That kind of move, folks called it a jack and slap, the type of disrespect that could have shattered Boosie's whole street image. And if you go by Wack's version, that fear pushed Boosie to act, not just to save face, but to send a message. Prosecutors ran with that same theory, saying Boosie ordered the hit out of paranoia and pride. But depending on who you ask, Boyd had enemies all over Baton Rouge. He wasn't just a problem for Boosie, his name was tangled in drama all across the city. Still, somehow only Boosie caught the spotlight. Even with all that smoke, he walked out untouched, while Marlo Mike got life without parole. But here's what Wack 100 is really screaming: the system ain't blind, it's bought. Boosie had the money, the status, and a beast of a legal team. Meanwhile, everything came crashing down on a scared teenager who couldn't fight back. When Boosie beat the case in 2012, he didn't just return to music, he came back with fire. Boosie hopped right in front of the mic, dropped bars mocking the case, and doubled down on that street boss image. He moved like the whole trial was just a small bump in the road, but everybody knows that murder never stopped following him. Even with that not guilty stamp, the streets ain't forget a thing. Because court might forgive, but the streets never forget. Meanwhile, Marlo Mike still sitting in Angola, rotting away, carrying the full weight of that murder case. No mic, no spotlight, no second chance, just a cell and a life sentence. And while the drama plays out in headlines, Terry Boyd's family, they're stuck with the real pain, the kind that doesn't fade when the cameras stop rolling. That's exactly why Wack 100 won't drop this story. He's been shouting it loud. This case needs to be cracked back open. From Wack's angle, this wasn't justice, it was a game. Fame, money, and sharp legal moves helped Boosie walk free, while Marlo took the full hit. And if you really know how the streets and the system work, then you know something about this whole outcome just don't sit right. And let's not forget, Boosie hasn't exactly kept his record clean since then. Wack's saying this ain't about just one trial, it's about a whole pattern Boosie's been riding. He's been sliding past serious heat while other people around him take the fall. Zoom out a little and you'll see that the Terry Boyd case, that was just one page in a much bigger playbook. A playbook that's helped Boosie dodge real consequences over and over again. And when you start laying out the facts, it gets wild. Before Boyd ever got touched, Boosie was already on law enforcement's radar. In 2008, cops pulled him over and found weed and a Glock in his car. That right there could have locked up most people. By 2009, he pled guilty to charges tied to that case, but it didn't stop. From 2009 to 2012, Boosie's name stayed floating in the system. More drug charges, more conspiracy whispers, and more courtroom drama. The heat was always there, but somehow Boosie kept walking right through it like nothing could stick. Boosie ended up doing 5 years, but let's not act like that was the end of it. He was serving time while the murder case was bubbling in the background. Then, in 2010, he gets slapped with an indictment for allegedly putting a hit on Terry Boyd, paying Marlo Mike to carry it out. The whole thing had the streets talking heavy, but somehow in 2012, Boosie walked free again, just like that. Now fast forward to today and Boosie's still playing with fire. Since 2023, his name's been back in the headlines, and this time, the trouble's all about guns, and this ain't no rumor. In May 2023, police stopped him and found 2 loaded handguns in the car. Then in July, he got booked again, right outside a courthouse of all places. It didn't stop there. 2024 brought even more heat. This time, the charges are tied to interstate gun movement and drugs. If the feds get that conviction, he's staring down a solid 10-year sentence. But here's where things get crazy. Wack 100 keeps pointing out that Boosie beat one of those federal cases in July 2024. And not because of luck, but because of a brand new Ninth Circuit ruling that dropped right in time. And guess what? Boosie just happened to be the very first person to benefit from it. Now, if you're Wack 100, watching this man slip through murder charges, gun busts, and federal heat, while the people around him get buried, you're gonna speak up. From Wack's side of the fence, Boosie's entire career has been built on surviving storms that would have crushed anyone else. That don't just raise eyebrows, it makes folks ask the real question: who's protecting Boosie and why? Wack's tone might be loud, but when you stack up this timeline, Boosie ain't just lucky. He's moving like he's bulletproof, and that's what's got people talking. But the truth is, Boosie ain't the first, and he won't be the last to pull this kind of escape. His case is just one piece of a bigger pattern, where major artists in the US get tied to violent crime, but somehow walk out of courtrooms with clean hands. Zoom out and you'll see, it's way bigger than just one rapper. Look at Snoop Dogg, for example. Back in the early 90s, he was on trial for murder after a gang member got gunned down in LA. Prosecutors came hard, trying to tie Snoop to first and second degree murder charges, all because of his known ties to street life. They leaned on his image, his lyrics, and the company he kept, but when it hit the courtroom, the jury wasn't buying it. Snoop got acquitted. Some lesser charges were left hanging, but he walked out free, showing just how shaky gang-linked charges can get when rap is involved. Now jump to the YSL trial, still fresh in everybody's mind. Young Thug and his whole crew got snatched up in a huge RICO case, with prosecutors trying to label YSL as a full-blown gang tied to multiple murders. Witnesses packed the courtroom, and Thug's lyrics got dragged into court like they were confessions. Every line he ever spit got dissected to fit a narrative. But here's the twist. Not everyone got buried. Several people walked free, and even Young Thug, he copped a plea on gang charges, but slid past any murder convictions. Sound familiar? Just like Boosie's situation, it proves how blurred the line really is between a rap persona and a criminal case, and how tough it is for the system to lock that line down when it hits the courtroom. Then there's the case that went off the rails, Big Lurch. His story, way darker. In 1999, Lurch murdered his own roommate in a horrific PCP-fueled breakdown. It wasn't rap beef, it was something out of a horror movie, brutal, gruesome, and far from the usual music drama. He tried to claim insanity in court, but the jury wasn't buying any of it. He got slammed with life without parole. No deals, no dodges. These cases show the spectrum from slippery courtroom wins to full-on prison walls. And every time, the connection between rap, real life, and the legal system just gets murkier. Unlike Boosie or Snoop, there was no slipping through the cracks when it came to Big Lurch. The evidence was airtight. But then you've got newer examples like CTS Lou Wick. He was hit with first-degree murder charges but claimed it was self-defense. The whole case exploded nationally. The stakes were sky high. And when that trial wrapped, he walked free, not guilty. Another major win considering what he was facing. Just like with Boosie, even with the heat from public opinion, the court couldn't seal a conviction. That's the pattern we keep seeing. Prosecutors lean heavy on rap lyrics, affiliations, and rep sheets to shape the narrative. They treat rap like a weapon, trying to turn bars into evidence, breaking down rhymes, pointing to tattoos, pulling photos, all to paint rappers as gang bosses instead of entertainers. But here's the problem, that strategy doesn't always hit. It's one thing to sound hard in a track, it's another thing to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Boosie's story is the perfect case where hip-hop street cred collides with the justice system. He's faced real heat, murder charges, federal gun cases, conspiracy talk. Some of those charges stuck temporarily, but others crumbled the minute things hit the spotlight. Just like with Snoop and other big names, Boosie's fame, a solid legal squad, and the lack of clear-cut evidence kept him from going down, for now at least. And that's exactly why Wack 100 won't let go. In Wack's eyes, this isn't just about the charges. It's about the game behind the curtain, the politics, the unwritten street code, and who's really playing by the rules or bending them. And when a rapper walks away clean from multiple serious charges, especially ones tied to murder and firearms, people start asking, how? To Wack, it don't look like luck, it looks like protection or cooperation. Either way, Boosie stays locked in his crosshairs. Bottom line, Boosie ain't some rare case. He's part of a bigger pattern that keeps playing out again and again. Boosie isn't just a headline, he's part of a long line of rappers who've danced with the law and walked away to tell the story. But not everyone sees that as a flex. For people like Wack 100, it's not street legend, it's a red flag. And if we're talking courtroom drama, we gotta bring up Diddy's recent legal mess. He was staring down charges that could have locked him down for life. But when the final verdict hit, Diddy walked away from the worst of it. The jury cleared him on the charges that could have buried him forever. Sound familiar? Just like Boosie, Diddy dodged the biggest bullets, the ones that could have ended everything. And just like with Boosie, that outcome split the public down the middle. Some say it's justice, others say it's just more proof that fame and money bend the rules. Let's not forget, Boosie beat a murder rap tied to Terry Boyd's killing. Meanwhile, Diddy escaped charges tied to organized crime and trafficking. That's not light stuff. Both men faced cases that tried to define their legacy through criminal allegations. Yet somehow, both slipped through the tightest legal nets, leaving prosecutors with busted cases and unanswered questions. And that's why Wack 100 won't shut up about it. From Boosie to Diddy, Young Thug to CTS Lou Wick, Wack's watching all these rappers dodge legal landmines and wondering what's really going on behind closed doors. Are these artists just lucky, or is there something or someone keeping them protected? Is it about power, influence, money, or is the game just rigged for certain names? One thing's for sure, when hip-hop meets the justice system, the result is never simple. If you're vibing with these deep dives, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment with your take. Do you think it's all luck, or is there more to the story? We've got way more heat coming, so stay locked in. See you on the next one.